Welcome, everyone, to Sports on Tap, presented by RRT Productions, part of the NEO Sports Insider Network. We're live from RRT Productions Studios in North Ridgeville, Ohio. I'm Rob Trutman. We have Josh, Jeffy, Ed, Dick joining us. And, guys, Week 11 is a wrap, and pretty fun to watch playoff football back again.
Indeed. Yeah, you got that right. I was able to watch actually watch one of your games, the game that was on TV on Saturday night, and nice. I was jealous I wasn't participating in some form or fashion in any game, but it's definitely always good to watch playoff football.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to give recaps of the playoff games in our respective conferences, the teams that made it. And also later in the show, we'll go over some of the matchups that we'll have for Week 12 in the playoffs. And, the teams that won continue on in Round 2, so we'll go over all those. But first, Josh, let's start off with the Greater Cleveland Conference and go over some of your games.
Yeah, we actually had 4 teams from the Greater Cleveland Conference. Easy for me to say. Greater Cleveland. I'll just stick with GCC. How about that?
Say that 10 times fast.
4 representatives in this year's Division I, Region I playoffs. And a pretty successful 4 games for these teams, except for one. Unfortunately, Elyria with a 31-21 loss to Olentangy, the number 3 seed. Elyria was number 14. Olentangy just came out and started throwing the ball everywhere. Olentangy quarterback Deeb Haber, 4 touchdown passes of 32 yards, 61 yards, 21 yards, and 41 yards. Now, Elyria only trailed 10-7 at half, and then as soon as the second half came, that's when Olentangy kind of opened it up. For Elyria, though, Kyle Ringer did have 7 receptions for 136 yards and a touchdown. And this was kind of a revenge game, so to speak, I guess you could say. There was some ties. Olentangy coach Mark Salas was Elyria's former coach, so he knew a lot about the program, knew a lot about the kids, and so that I think helped them a little bit in this. Elyria finished their season with a 31-21 loss in the first round of playoffs. Now on to the victories, and for these 3 games and these teams of the GCC, defense was the name of the game. We'll start off with number 8 Menor with a 41-13 victory over number 9 seed Glen Oak. For Menor, this is the 5th straight season that they've had a playoff victory. Jason Blizzard and Alex Matthews each had 3 touchdowns in this game. Matthews finished with 31 rushing attempts, 143 yards, and 3 touchdowns. My main man, Jason Blizzard, 6 receptions, 116 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he did have 1 rushing touchdown. It was a direct snap that he was able to get into the end zone. Menor defense, as I mentioned before, held Glen Oak quarterback Brennan Tibbs to 2 of 7 passing for only 17 yards.
Wow.
So Menor's defense did come out strong, and really the defense only gave up 1 touchdown. However, Glen Oak did get their late touchdown. It was from a pick 6 late in the game.
Well, no, Tibbs was hurt that day for the most part, too. I mean, I know he wasn't really the one designated to pass the ball too much. They brought the sophomore in.
Right.
The sophomore actually he had a really good pass to, I think, the tight end or the fullback.
Right.
To set up that touchdown by Tibbs, I believe.
A little too late, though. And Menor just came out and really just set the tone early and came out, and they just set it early with Alex Matthews running the ball. Solid performance out of him. We move on to number 7 seed Solon with a 19-9 victory over number 10 seed Olentangy Liberty. Solon defense for 6 turnovers in this game, and they also scored a touchdown. Johnny Mooney, for the quarterback for the Comets, did not have a real good game, though. He did throw 3 interceptions in this game. However, he did throw 1 touchdown. Again, not much to say about this game, except that defense was the rule. Solon came out, did what they have to do to get the victory. They move on in the tournament. Finally, the number 5 seed Euclid Panthers with a big 28-7 victory over the Austin Fitch Falcons. Euclid gave up, again, their defense only gave up 75 yards of total offense. QB Craig Robertson had 161 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Euclid wide receiver David Wright Jr. had a really solid game, 5 receptions, 103 yards, 2 touchdowns. As Euclid moves on, and we'll discuss who they go on to play in Division I, Region I later on here in the show. But overall, like we were talking about before the show went on the air, nothing but chalk in the Division I, Region I bracket. All the higher seeded teams did win. Looking forward to next round of the games coming up this Saturday.
Yeah, and like you said, defense wins championships, and a lot of great defense coming out of the GCC right now. Solon, they continue to play great defense. I think they
Same thing with Euclid.
Played it all year, and yeah, Euclid. All year they seem like they've been playing impressive ball. Men are back to their winning ways. Glen Oak's usually not an easy team to beat. They, are in the Akron area, so around Massillon. I believe Massillon played them this year. And they play some pretty tough teams down there as well. So a nice win by Menor in the GCC.
Yeah, it's very good to see the GCC go 3-1 in the first round. That just really goes to show you how tough that conference really is. I mean, half the teams made the playoffs and 3 out of the 4 won. So the teams like Brunswick, Strongsville, Medina, and Shaker, the teams that didn't make the playoffs, they kind of get this. They kind of see a measuring stick of what they need to do and where they need to be, to be able to compete with these teams.
And these past weekend's game, I was very surprised to see the defenses actually come on strong. I mean, that really shows you the kind of experience these coaches have, to where they know that they're going to have to buckle down on defense. We were talking about all season long how these offensive numbers for these games have been outrageous during the season. When it comes playoff time, they buckled down really on the defensive end and came up with really solid game plans to stop the other team. And for all of them except for Elyria, who still was in that game to close to the end, all the teams came out and played a really defensive sound game. And like you said, Rob, that helps you win games, and not only that, but win championships at any level.
Well, it's a little bit different in the Southwestern Conference, where defense wasn't necessarily at a premium.
I think it's a rumor in that conference, is it not?
I mean, offensively, the games were unbelievable really to watch, other than, North Ridgeville and Perrysburg, but we'll get to them coming up shortly. In D1 Region 1, it was Berea Mid-Park taking on Stowe, who, Ed, we've talked about Stowe a lot this year, and they have been solid. They're coming to the game undefeated, and they started the game off really quick as quarterback Kyle Van Treese had a 12-yard run. It was 7-0 Stowe to start the game. Then we've heard this name many times, running back Jason Gobble with a 7-yard run. It was 14-0 early Stowe, but that's when running back and linebacker Joey Bocci, the Michigan State recruit, got to show off his arm a little bit with a 33-yard pass to quarterback Nick Gassman on a roll reversal. That set up what happened on the next play, which was a Joey Bocci 2-yard touchdown run. After the first quarter, it was 14-7. We head to the second quarter, where Berea Mid-Park wasn't done. Joey Bocci with a 1-yard run. The kick failed. It was 14-13 Stowe. Then Stowe finally comes back and answered with Kyle Van Treese 10-yard run, and it made it 21-13. And this would go back and forth. Berea Mid-Park then scoring. Brett Swinnerton, the wide receiver, caught a 29-yard pass from Nick Gassman. It was 21-20 Stowe. Then again, Kyle Van Treese on a 4-yard run. At half, it was 28-20. And Kyle Van Treese really had his hand in almost every play in this game, scoring-wise. But as we head to the third quarter, he finally decided he wanted to pass it away to Logan Lindsay on a 39-yard pass from Van Treese. It was 35-20, and Stowe was starting to get away a little bit, but Berea Mid-Park answered with a Jarrett Peterson 14-yard pass from Joey Bocci. And it was then 35-27. But Stowe scored 2 straight times with Jason Gobble touchdown runs of 8 and 30 yards. It was 49-27 after the third quarter. And in the fourth quarter, Stowe again would score on a Terrian Ray 5-yard run. It was 57-27. And Berea Mid-Park would score one more time with a Brett Swinnerton 29-yard pass from Gassman. But Stowe was just too much, handing the Berea Mid-Park Titans the loss at 57-34. Stowe will face Solon next, and looking at some of the stats for Stowe, running back Jason Gobble had 284 yards and 3 touchdowns, and Kyle Van Treese, 8 of 12 for 137 and a touchdown, but he also had 3 rushing touchdowns. Berea Mid-Park quarterback Nick Gassman completed 17 of 27 passes for 267 and 2 touchdowns on the game. Again, Stowe winner 57-34, knocking out Berea Mid-Park as they fall to 6-5. Stowe now 11-0 on the season. So nice win by Stowe as, it was close, I think, most of the way, but then Berea Mid-Park just couldn't keep up with the offense. So good game by Stowe.
It's tough to keep up with Stowe's offense. I mean, not many teams have been able to stop them defensively. Hudson probably gave them their best battle as far as from a defensive standpoint is. But there's just too many options right now. Gobble is obviously a monster on the ground, and Kyle Van Treese just keeps getting better every single week. And he's turned in a couple MVP performances here. He might not win it all the time, but he certainly is putting up the numbers.
Well, I think, like you said, a 1-2 punch in Van Treese. Van Treese can run too, but he passes when they need to. And Gobble, he is just a beast on the ground, so you have to keep an eye on him. Now we head to D2 Region 4, which it was Olmsted Falls taking on Midview. Midview undefeated right now, and Olmsted Falls was 6-4. And Midview started off with an Alex 4 23-yard pass from Dustin Crum. It was 7-0 Midview. But Olmsted Falls would respond on the next 2 plays. Dalton Davis, a 44-yard pass from Aaron Zawatsky, and it was 7-7. And then we've heard this name before, off for Olmsted Falls, Spencer Linville, 3-yard touchdown run. It was 14-7 after 1. We head to the second quarter where Midview would strike a few times. Dustin Crum on a 3-yard run and Alec Forer with a 2-yard run. It was 21-14 Midview at half. We head to the third quarter where Olmsted Falls would strike first. Dalton Davis on a 52-yard pass from Aaron Zawatsky. It was 21-21 before Logan Bolin made an impact on an 11-yard run. That followed by a Damian Mahone Jr. 5-yard run. It was 34-21 heading to the fourth quarter. Midview had the lead. Then Dimitri Redwood wanted to score. So he had caught a 10-yard pass from Crum, and they went for 2. Mahone Jr. with a run. It was 42-21 at this point. Olmsted Falls then answered with a Matt Archewell 26-yard run. It was 42-28. Midview took the lead. And then this was the dagger. Logan Bolin, 77-yard interception return. It was 49-28. Olmsted Falls would score one more time, and also Midview would score. But the final score was 56-35. Midview wins and now plays Glenville in the second round of the playoffs in Avon Lake. Some stats in the game. Dustin Crum, the quarterback for Midview, completed 16 of 21 passes for 266 yards and 3 touchdowns. For Olmsted Falls, Matt Archewell and Spencer Linville gained 100 and 154 yards rushing, respectively, for the Bulldogs, and they each scored a touchdown. And that's going to be a very tough challenge for Midview as they take on a very good athletic Glenville team who only lost 1 game so far this year. Now we head to North Ridgeville at Perrysburg, and North Ridgeville traveled to Perrysburg, and after 1 quarter it was 0-0, and you wondered where the offense would come, and it didn't come too long after the first quarter where Perrysburg broke open the game in the second quarter when quarterback Trevor Hafner completed 2 touchdown passes to Zach Hansberger. The pair hooked up for a 3rd touchdown pass in the fourth quarter, and overall Hafner threw for 5 touchdown passes and 263 yards. It's only 14-0 Perrysburg at half, but Perrysburg would score 21 points in the third quarter, and North Ridgeville was held to 98 yards rushing and 98 yards passing on the day. Senior running back and Ohio State commit Mario McCall was limited to 34 yards on 11 carries. Perrysburg will play Avon next in the second round. All right. One more game on the docket for me, which was Buckeye against West Geauga. And West Geauga traveled to Buckeye, and it started with quarterback Nathan Polidori, who we had on the show, friend of the show, as a matter of fact, on a 1-yard pass to Justin Kennedy, and Richard Gatt had the extra point. It was 7-0 Buckeye at the end of the first quarter. And the Bucks at half was up 7-0. That's the way it would be, and they missed a field goal wide left to end the half. But this game went tied 7-7 in the fourth in the fourth quarter as West Geauga got an 82-yard touchdown pass with 3:38 left in the game to make it 14-7 West Geauga. Nathan Polidori to Justin Kennedy, though, responded with 1:14 left as they tied it at 14 and then would go to overtime. West Geauga then, Seawright on a 1-yard sneak made it 21-14, and that's when Buckeye then would respond on a Nathan Polidori to Justin Lowry on a 21-yard pass, and that tied it at 21. And in the second overtime, running back Trevor Tomey, you might have heard of him. Yeah, he was on the show as well, Josh.
I know I was there.
He scored in the second overtime. It was 28-21 Buckeye, and West G then would come back and tie it up. West G would score another time and stop Buckeye in the third overtime. It's West Geauga advancing to the next round with a 35-28 win in 3 overtimes. And, this was a great game played by both teams. It's tough when you have games like this to even have a loser in a game like this. But Buckeye had a great year, something to really be proud of when you look at a 10-0 season. They played very well, really, in this game. I mean, you head to the fourth quarter. It's unbelievable where the offense finally stepped up. But, a tough loss, I'm sure, for them. But let's give credit to West Geauga. They came into a very tough place to play in Buckeye and got a 35-28 win in 3 overtimes. Any words?
That's a nice job, Rob.
Not bad. The only other thing I want to say, I know Sean Duffy would kind of be sad at this next one. Vandalia Butler, they lost in their D2 Region 6 game against Cincinnati LaSalle 52-14. Vandalia Butler is out of the playoffs now, and LaSalle will now play Lima Senior as Lima Senior beat Miamisburg in overtime 44-42. Vandalia was 7-3. They fall to 7-4. A good year for them, and I know Sean would be proud to see that they made the playoffs and had a good year overall, but LaSalle just too much for them. All right, now, Ed Dick has some games over there where he looks very intrigued to get to. So, Ed, give us some of your Week 11 playoff games in the Suburban League.
All right, well, we're going to start with one of a matchup between it's actually an interleague matchup between some of our conferences here. The Avon Eagles, represented by the Southwestern Conference, taking on the Highland Hornets, represented by the Suburban League American Division. This is the 4th time in 5 years the two teams have met in the playoffs. And on this occasion in Avon, the Eagles got the better of the Highland Hornets, claiming a 49-20 win in the first round of a Division II Region 4 action. The number 6 Hornets started off hot, driving 75 yards before settling for a 30-yard field goal by Charles Howe. Avon, however, cashed in for 3 straight touchdowns, 2 of which from the arm of quarterback Jake Sopko. He hit Darren Davis from 17 yards out in the first quarter and Will Heilman from 23 yards out in the second quarter. Garrett Choate then ran in a touchdown from 1 yard out in between the passing scores, setting up the Eagles with a 21-3 lead. Howe connected again from 30 yards out to bring it to 21-6 at the half. The teams traded scores in the third quarters. Garrett Choate had another 1 yard touchdown run for the Eagles to give the Eagles a 28-6 lead. Highlands' Tyler Zielinski connected with Zach Phillips on a 7-yard touchdown pass, cutting the lead to 28-13. On the ensuing kickoff, Avon's Michael Nose sniffed a running lane and hit an 80-yard touchdown, 80-yard kickoff return for a touchdown.
I like that.
Yeah, I was trying to find a way to work that in there.
That was very impressive.
This stuff just writes itself. Highlands' Manny Del Serna bailed in from a yard out to set up the fourth quarter at 35-20. The fourth quarter, however, was all Avon. Garrett Choate ran for a 48-yard touchdown run. Carter Rudy with another 18-yard touchdown run to account for the final score. Avon's defense held the potent Hornets offense to just 51 yards on 35 carries. Quarterback Tyler Zielinski finished with 188 yards passing and a touchdown for the Hornets. Avon's Jake Sopko, 12 of 20 passing for 157 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Will Heilman was the top receiver for Avon, catching 5 passes for 67 yards and a touchdown. And Garrett Choate, 21 carries, 151 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Avon advances to the regional semifinals. They will take on number 2 Perrysburg in Sandusky on Friday night. Highland finishes their season at 6-5. All right, now we have a couple of interdivision matchups from the Suburban League. The American and the National Division teams getting after each other here a little bit here. So in the first of 2 interdivision matchups, the number 5 Hudson Explorers took on the number 4 Copley Indians in Division II Region 3 action, and both offenses did not disappoint. Copley scored just a minute into the game. Austin Brenner finds Larnell Neely for a 71-yard touchdown pass. Undaunted, Hudson's Matt Restivo runs the ensuing kickoff back 99 yards for a touchdown, tying the game at 7. Restivo was a jack of many trades on this night, later rushing for a 51-yard touchdown run that closed out the first quarter at 14-7. Sophomore kicker Grant Gagne connects on 43 yards out before the half, giving the Explorers a 17-7 lead at the half. Roman Marino for Hudson rushes for a 15-yard touchdown run to open up the scoring in the third quarter. The Indians struck back with an Austin Brenner touchdown pass to Hayden Neal, closing the gap to 24-13. Moreno scores again from 1 yard out, extending the Explorer lead to 31-13. The Hudson defense then scores the next 14 points as Sean Edmonds returns an Austin Brenner pass 100 yards for an interception return for a touchdown, giving the Explorers an insurmountable 38-13 lead. Then Alex Beck backed it up with a 22-yard touchdown interception return for a touchdown to trigger the running clock for Hudson. It's 45-13 at this point. Copley does get a garbage time touchdown. Final result, the Hudson Explorers 45, Copley Indians 20.
Wow.
Hudson's defense, while they did give up a big chunk of yards, 464 yards of them, they did force 5 turnovers. They scored 2 touchdowns and returned a kickoff for a touchdown. For the Indians, Austin Brenner completes 22 of 38 passing for 340 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions. Weston Bridges, he's a 1,500-yard rusher for the year. Had trouble getting it going here. He was held to just 43 yards on 15 carries. And this is something we've seen from Hudson. They do a really good job of shutting down the opponent's rushing game. They did the same thing here. If there's one team that was able to stop Jason Gobble, it was Hudson. And they did the same thing to Weston Bridges here. Indians wide receiver Hayden Neal had 10 catches for 120 yards and 1 touchdown. For Hudson, it was really truly a team effort. The best, Matt Restivo had 15 carries for 95 yards and a touchdown. Actually, Jackson Parker, their quarterback, did not play in this game. They had to go to the backup, and Hudson's defense more than picked up the slack on their end. With the win, Hudson advances to the second round to face the winner of the next game we're going to cover. Copley ends their season at 9-2. And in the final game that I have for you this week, it's the second of 2 interdivision Suburban League matchups. Number 1, Aurora, hosts number 8, Macedonia Nordonia. And this game did not disappoint. Aurora jumps up to an early 3-0 lead on a 30-yard field goal before Anthony Perrine started his personal assault on the Greenmen, first with a 6-yard touchdown run. Excuse me. Aurora then scores the next 21 points as sophomore receiver Gavin Blunt catches 2 touchdown passes from quarterback Nolan Saka, sandwiched by a Bubba Arcelinian 22-yard touchdown run as Aurora jumps up 24-7. Anthony Perrine was not done with that. He had 2 touchdown runs, 4 yards out and 11 yards out to cut the lead. Aurora scores again on a Vanzo 4-yard run before Nate Soltis catches a 69-yard touchdown pass from Justin Post. Perrine scores twice more, one from 7 yards out, one from 13 yards out. 39-31 is the score at this point. Aurora does score a touchdown late. Saka throws a 12-yard touchdown pass. However, in going for 2 points to tie the game and send it in overtime, Nordonia's defense comes up big, stops the Greenmen, gets the upset. Number 8, Nordonia, defeats number 1, Aurora, 39-37.
That's a big
Whoa.
upset there.
Unbelievable effort once again by Anthony Perrine, quarterback Justin Post. had 232 yards, and Nordonia's only other touchdown. As this is Perrine being Perrine. I mean, he had 28 carries for 136 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Optimus Prime.
My God, Optimus Perrine. I like it.
I do. I like that a lot.
I like
actually.
it. So with the win, Nordonia advances to take on Hudson in a rematch of Suburban League National Division action. That game will take place Friday night at 7:30, and that game will be at Bedford Bearcat Stadium.
Wow. That's surprising. I think I don't know if there were a ton of surprises in the playoffs, but this is when it starts to really get good. You look at, and we're going to go over some of these matchups, but teams are, not many losses, we'll say.
We almost had a big upset in Division I, Region I. I mean, it wasn't for a long time there. Cleveland Heights gave St. Ed's a run for their money. St. Ed's only won 20-12. And you have to give credit to Cleveland Heights. So if we're going out there and, really no one gave them a chance in this game.
No, not at all. 4 and 5 going into that game.
Right.
And some of their starters were missing due to a suspension.
So they came out and they played real tough. And I tell you what, if Ed's plays like that against Mentor, they could easily be beat. And I'll be interested to see. We'll talk about it here in a little bit, but I'll be interested to see what Mentor team comes out. I'm sure it's going to be the playoff caliber team, but it'll be interesting to see for sure.
And I know Duffy isn't here to defend himself here, but all 3 of his teams happen to 4, counting his alma mater, happen to fall. 2 of which at the hands of the National Division, 1 of which at the hands of the Southwestern Conference. So just make sure you remember that next time, Duffy.
Now Duffy has a little vacation for a little bit.
The Civil War between the American and the National took care of business there.
Yeah, it was fun following some of these games. I did keep a close eye on the Cleveland Heights St. Ed's game. I had a friend that went to St. Ed's, and he was asking me if the score was correct because he was surprised, and I'm like, yes, I've checked it 5 times, and it's it's there. That's the great thing about high school playoff football. I mean, on any given day, you could say that about any sport, but it seems like in high school football, look at Hudson. They're a good playoff football team, and pulling off a nice win there. Copley had a great season, and they were rolling over a lot of teams, I thought, this year. So, a little surprised they only were able to put up 20 points, but and on any given day, you just never know.
Indeed.
All right, right now we're going to step away. We're going to take not really a break, but we're going to adjust here and play some of our sponsors, let you hear some of those, and get ready for our playoff matchup games coming up this week. We'll go over all those coming up. We're Sports on Tap, part of the NEO Sports Insiders Network, presented by RRT Productions.
So pretty much we're taking a break.
For a second. It's not an extended break, so don't go anywhere. We're Sports on Tap.
For the best coverage of Cavs, Indians, and Browns, check out neosportsinsiders.com. neosportsinsiders.com brings you breaking news, opinions, and video from all things related to your favorite Cleveland sports teams. Like us on Facebook and follow at NEO Sports Insiders on Twitter for live updates from all the games. neosportsinsiders.com, bringing you the best in Northeast Ohio sports coverage.
Join Sports on Tap the first Thursday of every month at Z's Cream and Bean, 2706 Boston Road in Hinckley, Ohio, as Sports on Tap talks local Ohio high school sports, Cleveland sports, and national sports topics. It's all happening at Z's Cream and Bean the first Thursday of every month starting at 7:30 p.m. Join us. You're listening to Sports on Tap's Ohio high school football coverage live on Mixlr. Live streaming every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Remember to check us out on Twitter at SOT Podcast and use the hashtag SOTHSF to post score, stats, and pictures from all your high school football games. Like us on Facebook and listen to all of our archive shows on iTunes, YouTube, and Podomatic. Again, our coverage starts every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. We're Sports on Tap.